Biological activity and weathering. Biological weathering is a contribution to or removal of mineral and ions from the weathering environment and physical changes due to growth or movement of organisms, burrowing and wedging by organisms like earthworms, termites, rodents, etc. helps is exposing the new surfaces to chemical attack and assist in the penetration of moisture and air. Significance of weathering. Weathering processes are responsible for breaking down the rocks into smaller fragments and preparing the way for formation of not only regolith and soils but also erosion and mass movements. Biomes and biodiversity is basically a result of forests, and forest depends upon the depth of weathering. Mantles weathering of rocks and deposits helps in the enrichment and concentrations of certain values ores of iron, manganese, aluminium, copper, etc., which are of great importance for the national economy. Mass movements. These movements transfer the mass of rock debris down the slopes under the direct influence of gravity. That means air, water, or ice does not carry debris with them from place to place, but on the other hand, the debris may carry with it air, water, or ice. The movements of mass may range from slow to rapid, affecting shallow to deep currents of materials and include creep, flow, slide, and fall. Gravity exerts its force on all matters, both bedrocks and a products of weathering. So, weathering is not a prerequisite for mass movement, though it aids mass movements. Mass movements are very active over weathered slopes rather than over weathered materials. Mass movements are aided by gravity and no geomorphic agent like running water, glaciers, winds, waves, and current participates in the process of mass movements. That means mass movements do not come under erosion, though there is a shift aided by gravity of materials from one place to another. Materials over the slopes have their own resistance to disturbing forces and will yield only when force is greater than the shearing resistance of the materials. Weak, unconsolidated materials, thinly bedded rocks fall steeply, dipping beds, vertical cliffs, or steep slopes, abundant precipitation, and torrential rains and scarcity of vegetation, etc., favor mass movements. Mass movements can be grounded under three major classes: slow movements, rapid movements, landslides. A brief description of them as follows. Slow movements. Creep is one type under this category, which can occur a moderately steep soil-covered slopes. Movement of materials is extremely slow and imperceptible except through extended observation. Rapid movements. These movements are mostly prevalent in humid climatic regions and occur over hillsides is known as earth flow. Another type in this category is mud flow. In the absence of vegetation cover and with heavy rainfall, thick layer of weathered materials get saturated with water and either slowly or rapidly flow down along defined channels. It looks like a stream of mud within a valley. When the mud flows emerge out of channels into the pavement or plains, they can be very destructive, engulfing lodges, bridges, and houses. A third type is the debris avalanche, which is more characteristic of humid regions with or without vegetation cover and occurs in narrow tracts on steep slopes. Landslides. These are known as relatively rapid and perceptible movements. The materials involved are relatively dry. The size and shape of the detached mass depends on the nature of discontinuities is the rock and degree of weathering, and the steepness of the slumps is slipping of one or several units of rock debris with a backward rotation with respect to the slope over which the movement takes place. Rapid rolling of sliding of earth debris without backward rotation of mass is known as debris slide. Slides occurs as planar failure along discontinuities like bedding plants that dip steeply. Rockfall is free falling of rock blocks over any steep slope keeping itself away from the slope. Rock falls occur from superficial causes. Preceding mass movements. Several activating causes precede mass movements. They are removal of support from below to materials above through natural or artificial means, increase in gradient and height of slopes, overloading through addition of materials naturally or by artificial fillings, overloading due to heavy rainfall, saturation and lubrication of slope materials, removal of materials of load from over the original slope surfaces, occurrence of earthquakes, explosion or machinery. Exclusive natural seepage, heavily drawdown of water from lakes, reservoirs and rivers leading to slow outflow of water from under the slopes or river banks. Indiscriminate removal of natural vegetation. Layers of the rock face, an occurrence that distinguished it from rock slide which affects materials up to a substantial depth. Erosion and deposition. Erosion involves acquisition and transportation of rock debris when massive rock breaks into smaller fragments through weathering and any other process. Erosional geomorphic agents like running water, groundwater, glaciers, wind and waves remove from transport it to other places depending upon the dynamics of each of these agents. Abrasion by rock debris carried by these geomorphic agents also aid greatly in erosion. By erosion, relief degrades, that is, the landscape is worn down. That means to weathering aids erosion. It is not a precondition for erosion to take place. Three agents are controlled by climatic conditions. They represent three states of matter: gaseous, liquid and solid respectively. The erosion can be defined as application of the kinetic energy associated with the agent to the surface of the land along with it moves. Kinetic energy is computed as Ke, that half mv square, where m is the mass and v is the velocity. The work of other two agents of erosion, waves and ground water, is not controlled by climate. In case of waves, it is the location along the interface of a litho and hydrosphere coastal region that will determine the work of waves, whereas the work of groundwater is determined more by the lithological character of the region. If the rocks are permeable and soluble and water is available, only then karst topography develops. Deposition is not actually a work of any agent. The coarser materials get deposited first and finer one later. By deposition get filled up the same erosional agents wise. Running water, glaciers, wind, waves and groundwater act as aggradational or depositional agents also. Weathering. Weathering is action of elements of weather and climate over earth materials. There are a number of processes within switching which acts either individually or together to affect the earth materials. in order to reduce them to fragmental state as very little or no motion of materials take places in weathering. It is an in situ or on-site process. Chemical weathering process. A group of weathering process wise solution, carbonation, hydration, oxidation and reduction act of the rocks to decompose, dissolve or reduce them to fine clastic state through chemical reactions by oxygen surface and or soil, water and other acids. Solution. When something is dissolved in water or acids, the water or acid with dissolved content is called solution. This process involves removal of solids in solution and depends upon solubility of a mineral in water or weak acids or coming in contact with water. Many solids disintegrated and mix up suspension in water. Carbonation. Carbonation is a reaction of carbonate and bicarbonate with minerals and is a common process helping the breaking down of feldspars and carbonate minerals. Hydration.